Hello friends, welcome to FoxuTech. So as we are seeing regards Argo Cd like GitHub's tool, and we have so far seen about how we can effectively manage the application declaratively and via CLI, and also the core features. So part of that, so today we're going to see another important topic related to Argo Cd is user management, right? So any tool like a user management is one of the key operation we should maintain it. Why? Because so that gives us a best control over the systems. Not everyone will have all the access, and also if there is a new employee joins and there is someone leaves, right? So we should have a better system to manage it. So with that we will be controlling all the access. Let's say like someone is leaving organization and unknowingly they have stored their data somewhere and that got exposed, and if we are not removing that user, right, so somehow that tool will be exposed and there is high possible someone may misuse our data. So there is always a trick, so we should always careful on any kind of a system whatever implementing. Okay, let's jump into that. So today we're gonna see about the user management in Argo Cd. So let's start. So part of that, so if you are new to the Argo Cd or the first time you are watching, we may request you to please watch our series. And so just let's speak about what is Argo Cd. So this just a tool which reads whatever the manifest or the charts you are storing in your properable repositories, and it applies to the Kubernetes cluster. So whichever the things you are storing, like you want to store some kind of helm chart, you can use some artifactory or any kind of repository, helm repositories, and from there you can just apply the changes into the, you can just link to the Argo Cd. Argo Cd just may read that manifest chart whatever you given, so it just applies to the destination Kubernetes clusters. So with that, what happens, you can manage everything, every application desired states on the particular repositories, right? And you no need to rely on the tools maintaining again on the multiple system or something. Everything will be stored part of your code repositories or repositories which will be last for long. So you no need to store anything on your local or any kind of a developed instance. So that GitHub's suggest, and that's part of Argo Cd is a tool which help us to apply the changes. So let's jump into the real topic, which is nothing but RBAC or role-based access control. Right? In Argo Cd, the rollback control is control over the user groups and access the resource based on the defined ones. So as we've seen, there is a multiple resources in Argo Cd like applications, projects, and repositories, cluster, everything, and GPG key certs, right? So there is a multiple definitions we have given. So it's not like everyone should have every access, right? There will be a certain people need only particular project or particular application or particular repositories, right? So those things we can handle everything better on the using this RBAC options in the Argo Cd. So in general, what RBAC is, so by default, so if you speak on the history, like this is not came from the initial, there is a multiple research has been done, and there is a multiple system access control was there earlier. Like traditionally, there was a mandatory access control or disciplinary access controls. There is a lot, but then there is a final one was defined like a role-based access resource. And in this, there is a three kind of requirements are there. So what are the requirements? So one is role assignment. So what is role assignment? Any kind of a subject assigned to the selected role, and they only allowed to have a selected transactions by the defined user. So they are based on the roles, the transactions or the operations, whatever they assign will be done only based on the roles. So that should be properly assigned, and if not, there is authorization. So role-based authorization is nothing but the subjects or any users use only the roles which they are authorized. So they, with whatever the permission they given, and only that they can do it. Let's say like one of the best thing is your ATM card, right? So the only card you are having access, you can just do whatever the thing. So it's not like any card you can take and you can just run and put any kind of a pin. There is a certain restriction, so that will be assigned to the no particular bank transaction. So like that, it will be again here. So role authorization, whichever it's assigned. And transaction authorizations is next topic. It's subject only execute transactions authorized by the subject role and membership. So if you are member of the any particular group, and then that group has a proper access, so with that you can do whatever the operation you want. So let's say like your team is assigned for the accounting side. So in that case, so you may able to perform accounting related, even though they can drill down the access, like you can just do the updates or you can just read the transitions. You can't do any other operations. So even those can be restricted in the transition authorizations. Right. So hope this may given some high basic ideas. Are you may well aware of what RBAC, right? So let's jump into Argo CD related user managements. So by default, if you install Argo CD, or we seen about that in the previous videos. So admin user will be comes by default. So with the admin user, what are the operations we can do? Anything can be done without complete access, like the complete operations we can do with the admin users. So this admin user, what is not recommended to use always as like any other open source tools if you are using. So we should not use built-in admin users. Why? Because this may have some, it's very critical. So to track what is happening on the system, let's say like if someone is logged in with admin and they did some unknown operation, they are new to the team or something. So they have did some unknown operations and that caused downtime, or that may make our data to lose, right? So there is a high multiple things can happen. So to avoid such a cases, we should not use built-in. Always we should give the access to selected user with their own credentials. And even if you are granting access, please control the accesses, right? What level of access they should have, only that they should give, right? So and like as I said, like you should use only the admin user for initial configuration, nothing else. Okay, so then you can ask how I can handle this, right? So there is a two way you can handle this. One is there is a local users. So if you are not, your system is not integrated with any kind of active directories, so in that case you can manage the users directly on the Argo CD. Okay, so or if you have any proper integration with SSOs, you can enable the SSO integration also in Argo CD. Right. So in this tutorial, so we're gonna see about how you can manage the local users, like how you can create the local users. But there is another important thing is RBAC. So RBAC will be mostly same, but there will be a little change. Only the naming will be differs, right? Differs. Okay. So SSO, if you are looking for integration, Argo CD has the best articles. So you can refer that, or we can see if there is any possibility we can enable the SSO integration somehow, and we can demonstrate for your reference in future. Okay, so that is for now, and let's jump into the local users. So what we why we need a local users or any users? So obviously they should have a plugins to the UI, and it will allow us to do any kind of operations. So even though you can just again you can create a service account or the normal user account. So if you are using a service account, that can be used for any kind of automated, so sorry, with your CI/CD pipeline, you can use that. or if you are giving access to the users, you can create the user for them so they can view the details in the Argo CD. So GitHubs never suggest to give full access to the users and they can do whatever the operations, but it's again right. So they may need to some certain operations sync. So like that, it's needed some access. So you can grant that access. Again, we should be restricting with the selected project or the application or any layers. You should decide based on your organization suggestion or the restriction aspect. You can think about the restrictions and you can implement it, right? So we're gonna see some certain demos. So in the demo, what we can do, we're gonna create some users, and then once we created the user, so then we'll assign some role and we'll see that. Okay, so in real time we gonna see what is happening and we'll be tracking that users. Okay, so this video is assuming you have already Argo CD is running on your environment, and also you have Argo CD CLI is installed. If not, please watch our videos or you can refer in our blogs, FoxuTech.com. So in that, it will give you the detailed explanation on how to install Argo CD and how to install Argo CD CLIs, right? Okay, so let's see the basic commands. So anyway, so these commands we're gonna try it shortly. So let's jump into the demo. So for that, let's log into the class our node, and I'll be logging to my node, and then we can start exposing this. We can check about this commands and we can try live in live, right? Okay. So I have logged into my cluster. So let's check, is it Argo CD is already running. So I'm gonna just pull the services. So this is my services, and we have already Argo CD repo server, Argo CD server, and everything is running. And I have exposed my service as a load balancer, and this is my load balancer IP, right? So let's try to access it. So I have already logged into the Argo CD instance, and this is my instance. And currently you can see I have logged in as an admin user, right? So far we didn't did much yet. So we're gonna see that. So before that, what we have to do, so let's log into Argo CD via CLI and see that, right? So to log in, what we have to do, we have to give Argo CD login and the server details. If you're using a domain name or SSO, this case will be different. Please use the appropriate options. If you're using a domain name, please give the domain name here, and that will allow you to log in. Or if you're using a SSO, so you have to add icon SSO, and it will take you to the further steps. In this, I'm going to use local account, so I'm going to say username admin, and as I don't have SSL certificate, it will throw me errors. So I'm going to say it's insecure, right? So it will ask me to type the password. So I have given my password and I have logged into the Argo CD. Fine. Right. So let's run some sample command what we see in the player, like app list. Okay, we can see our apps details, right? So same thing, like we're gonna see the account details, Argo CD accounts list, right? So typo Argo CD account list. So currently I can say there is a 3 users I have created already, but we're gonna see this different users, or we can remove all this user first, so then we can do whatever, we can recreate them. Okay, so how to create it, clear it, right? Creation. So if you are managing with a centralized way, so you can use there is a config maps. So from the config map we can manage the users. So for that, let's list the config maps in the Argo CD namespace. So there is, these are the config maps. In this, there is a 2 config maps are important. One is Argo CD RBAC CM and another one is Argo CD CM. Right. Argo Cd CM is for mainly for creating or managing the users. If you are using a local users, this is the object you should manage. Okay, so let me open that and I'll show you what I mean. So you can see in this there is a 3 users are being created. So what we see in the and the FoxuTech and Montoskia, right? So I'm going to clear this. Show you guys. So I have updated it, and as we seen the wo command account list, it's on 3 users. Okay, and I made a typo. I'm sorry about that. Right. So now you can see there is remaining users has been removed. Right. So what happens next? So what we'll do now, let's create whatever the user we have deleted. So let's create it again and do some operations. Okay, so before that, I want to show you another name, this config map. So and let's see that, which is nothing but RBAC. See, this is important even if you are managing local users or SSO users. If you want to grant any kind of a permission, this is very important. This is where you have to define your configs. If you are not if you are not managing a project, so then this is a destination for you to modify the roles or the policies, right? So we're going to see in the bit. So, but I'm going to clear whatever I have by default, and as this is not needed, right? So I'm just cleared everything and I'm saving it, right? So we are completely clean now. So we're gonna create the customized roles and we're gonna see how it works, right? So for that, let's create the users first. And before that, I want to show you is there any other users in the system. So let me try finish the page. That's the thing. All right, so go to the settings and see the accounts. You can see there is no other accounts, only there is an admin account, right? So now it's time for us to create the users. So let's create it. How we can create? There is a config map. It's called Argo Cd CM, right? So in this, we have to create the users. So to creating a users, what we have to do? So we're gonna define as data, and then so we're gonna see the name. We're gonna define the names. So the name I'm gonna for the users, you should key accounts dot. What is the name? So let me start with the FoxuTech. Is my user. Put a colon. Then this user should be able to generate the key file, API keys, and also this guy should have a UI login, right? So this two is a primary role for him. So I'm creating. So generally, if you are creating any user, please grab these two so they can use the API keys, anything. So next is accounts. I'm creating. So there is another user. Again, API key login information I'm giving. So next user is accounts dot I'm using India. So we're gonna see 3 different scenarios. So I'll explain you in a bit. So you can see that. Okay. So login. Okay. So far 3 users has been created. So let's save it and let's run this command account list. Okay. Now you can see there is accounts has been listed, and same thing you should see it here. Okay. You can see all these users, right? All right, so what we did now, just account creation, right? What is next? So next thing is, so we know the user names, but what is the password? So far there is no password has been set. As admin user, you should set the password behalf of them. To set the password, what you can do? Again, you need to use ROCD CLI command, ROCD count update password if1 account. I'm gonna say for first FoxuTech, and it will ask me to enter the current admin password. So I'm entering admin password, and it will ask me to enter the new password for user FoxuTech. Right. So password has been set. Same thing, let's follow for the other users. And please be noted, if you are giving a password manually, it should be like uppercase S, it should have a number and it should have a special characters, and its at least length is 8. Okay. So if you are not giving a lengthy password, it will throw you the error. Let me show you that. So as the user is short, let me try 1 2 3 4 as a password, and let's see what it says. So you can see this is not matching the following expressions, right? So always we should give whatever is needed. Let's say this is my password and I'm creating a new password. Right. So we have created all 3 users and we have created the passwords for them, right? So let's copy this URL. Let's open incognito mode and try to access this instance. Right. So let's log in one by one users. I'm going to log in as FoxuTech first. Right. So you can see this is the user FoxuTech. You can check in the user info which user you logged in, but you can't see anything on the tool. But what we have a number of application already, but still it's not able to display it here. Why? Because this guy doesn't have any roles. By default, any account you create, it comes with a read-only permission, and it even doesn't have access to any of the resources it's been created, right? So that is been. So now let's create the policies or the permissions for the users. So for that you have to manage it via Argo CD RBAC CM. So you can please make sure you are not modifying directly, as it's a demo purpose. I'm doing manually. Anything you are managing here, so you can create a some reference file in your Argo CD instance, Argo CD repo. So in that we can manage it. So we are doing a direct installation, so we are not managing such. But what we recommend always, please manage your all the code, all the manifest of Argo CD installation in your respective in your respective repositories. Why? Because it's not like always we want to install the latest version, right? You may pick certain numbers and you may use that. So for that, you should not rely on the direct repositories. In some case, it's auto-synced and it may move to the very latest version, right? So always use it in your proper Git, or you can use a helm chat. So in that you can manage your config maps, right? So this is a config map and this is a name, right? So store it like this in your repositories and you apply it. So we don't have anything such, but we have a plan to do that. I mean sessions. So we'll see like how we can deploy the Argo CD from the Git or the helm chart in coming videos. So for now, just for the demo purpose, I'm using this. Please be noted, and please use your repositories to do any kind of this kind of operations, right? So you can refer this as a reference, and these are the data and the policy you have to change based on your need. So I'm going to explain about this now. So based on that, you can customize it yours also, right? So let's see that. So how you can modify this for the trial purpose, you can do as like this. So as we are putting as a data, I'm putting in data now, then it's going like a policies. So as here in Argo Cd, all the data stored in the CSV format, all the policies, it will be like this. And I'm putting in data here. So this data will be, so how we have to start, this is the template P you have to start with for policies. If you are creating a policy, this would be a P, and then you should say what is the policy name or role name, right? So role, I'm gonna say DevOps, right? And which resource. First you have to define the, say this is a policy and this is a role, and then you have to say what resource, right? So let's take only applications. Again, I'm not giving any other like repositories or clusters, projects. Okay, so only applications, and then what operation it's allowed. So as it's a DevOps, this guy should have all the access to the applications, right? They should manage it lot. So I'm gonna give like all the operations, and which application I'm giving, all the application I'm giving a permission, right? So all the application, all the operations are allowed for related to application for DevOps role. So I'm going to allow it. Okay. So let's create another policies. Let's say this role is like a developer. Right. So what this developer going to do? So this guy is just going to see the application. Just this guy doesn't need any other thing, as they should manage everything via JIT. So they're gonna see the application status only here, right? In addition, you can give the sync access, but I'm going to give only get now, but I will be appending sync in next changes, right? And which application? Let them see all the applications part of the Argo CD for now, but we'll be truncate that access incoming. Okay. So next, I'm gonna say group. So we have created a policy. Now it should be applied to the users, right? So I'm gonna say like group, which is nothing but the names of users what you created. So let's say it's like a FoxuTech, one of the user what we created, and this guy should be part of DevOps. Right, so this guy is part of DevOps, and there is another user what we created is Motoskia, and this guy going to have access of developer. Okay, so next, so we have still one user left. I'm gonna give that user as an admin role. So to say that, so as we said earlier, so you should give the admin role to your users to make sure you are not using a directed. So currently I'm just giving, you can disable it with a certain options like a admin disable, right? So you can even disable the admin users and you can make sure this user is admin, right? So now we have created the policy and the roles given. So let's apply these changes. Right, so it's got created. So you can see I have logged in as a FoxuTech, right? Let's refresh this page once again. As this role got changed, now we should be able to see all the applications. So you can see it now, right? Earlier this user was not able to do any other application. So as we logged in as a FoxuTech as a DevOps guy, this guy can do any operations. Let's say this application is in out of sync. Let's try to sync it and see is it able to sync. And let's do one more thing like, okay, app detected. So let's try to delete this application as this is in degraded stage. I don't want to fix it, or this is a trial purpose we created, app deck. So I'm deleting. So you can see all these operations are allowed to do for this particular users, which is not allowed as we given only for applications. Again, there is nothing else you can do it in the server or the Argo Cd, right? Let's say like a repositories. You can see it doesn't have any role or access here, so you can't see anything in this. So let's try to create the repositories here. So even the projects you can't list. Let me even give the default, and I'm gonna see dummy URL of github.com, and I'm not going to give any logins as it's going to throw me error called permission denied. Let's confirm it. you can see this error is permission init, right? You can't create, do anything in this. So same goes for the other two things like a projects. Let's try to create a project testing, and that is even not permitted because we are not given any access related to project even to this user. Okay, so this is the case for the user one. Let's see for the user two, which is nothing but Toskia. So what role we have given to him? So we have given developer access, and we should be able to do only view the access, right? We should not do anything else. So let's try to log in with the user called Toskia. And I'm logging to the user, and let's log in, right? So you can see even this user can see the applications, but as we given only get access, nothing else this user should not do. Let's again, it's in out of sync. Let's try to sync. So all the operation I'm syncing, and you can see it's not permitted. Okay. And if you go inside, so let's refresh works. Let's try to delete one of this application and see. Anyway, nothing going to delete. So I'm gonna use this user first. This application, let me try to delete it. So this is app pop, right? So this is also not permitted for the developers. So they can't do any other operation and only seeing is allowed. So for repositories, let's say try the same. So default https://github.com and try to connect permission init, right? So none other operations are allowed except the whatever we defined, right? So like this, you can restrict the access. Let's try one another, the final user called Dia, and see with what he can do it, right? So with this users, so again, we can do anything. So I'm just showing the user, and this guy can see what all the users are there. And also you can see all the repositories, whatever we have. Also you can see what are the clusters we have. So repositories, everything is, you can see, ignore this error, there's just a warning for latest version. And so I can refresh this. And what else I can do is I'm gonna delete one of this application. So let me delete this sample. So this is permitted because I'm an admin here, so I can do whatever I want. So let's go to the projects and try to create a new project. Demo 1, I'm giving as demo 1, and I'm going to create the project. The project has been created in the UI. So just don't use UI as we have already defined or shown how to create the project via CLI. As it's for demo, I'm just creating it. And I'm going to allow all the resources, all the sources. And also I'm going to say like a destination, all the destinations are allowed. I'm not going to restrict anything. So I'm going to add everything and I'm going to save it. So with this, we have allowed all these things and we can create some roles here. So what roles? So whatever we see now, so same here as it's defined in the UI base. So add a policy, and what is the policy? Operations are allowed. This is all the operations is allowed. So let's give a get application. So yeah, all the application part of this project, as the project name is demo if1, and all belongs to this wildcard level. Everything is allowed in this. What you have to do, allow or any. So I'm gonna say allow. Okay. So add a policy. If you want other operation, say create all the projects and allow, right? and which group. I'm going to grant it for a FoxuTech as these guys are part of DevOps, and add this user. So like this, you can add a users and create the policies. So the role has been created, and this is the role. And if you want to modify anytime, you can modify it, or if you want to use it in the CLI, you can do so, right? All right. So now we know that we can create a user and we can assign the policies, and we can do that. So what if you want to restrict selected application, right? So we have this many application. Let's say like only Nginx, like a Motoskia user only has to see this Nginx application. Okay. So let's try to modify the RBAC role little bit, and you can see this is part of default project. Okay, so that is important. So let's show you. Let me show you that RBAC file. I'm modifying. And so as we said, all the applications, now we're gonna restrict this with selected, right? So the application name is Nginx. Let's say like you can do what all the operation part of this. Let's say like your Motoskia is owner for this, or the developers are owner for this, right? So I'm gonna say this guy can do anything on this particular application. All right, so we have know this, and I'm gonna log out as a DIA user, and I'm gonna log in as a Motoskia user now. So we have given the user for Motoskia, and I'm logging as a Motoskia now. Right, you can see in another application, you can see earlier he was able to, now we can access only the Nginx, right? So earlier we seen he can't do sync or he can't do any operations. So let's try to sync now. So I'm going to sync it. So sync is completed because there is nothing to sync here, right? So or what we can do, we can try to do some changes in this repository. Let me log in. Okay, so this is a path and deployments. So currently we have two replicas. Let's confirm it. Okay, we have only two replicas, right? So let me modify this replicas number 2, 3, and let me commit it. So let's come back here. If you refresh, still it's refreshing. So now let's sync the repository. See, there is out of sync. It was because there was a 3-1 gigabyte, and you can see the third one is getting created now. So once it's done, you can see this health will be healthy, right? So also what we can do, like we can do any other operation related only to this application, nothing else. If you want to roll back, you can see these references and you can just roll back it. Okay. So this guy doesn't have repo permission, so it's failing. So let's try to give the repo permission also to this user. So how to give that? So I'm gonna modify the repo permissions like this. I'm copying the role and save. This repositories. All the repositories I'm gonna see give this guy access. Or what? Let's give only get access or read access and see visit services. Now let's sync it. Okay, now you can see this is been synced. Refresh it, and this is got synced, right? So this is how you can manage your RBACs. So based on your need, you can define, create the roles and assign to the respective focus. Same applicable if you are using a, let's say you are using something called SSO integration. In that SSO integration, you want to have a, you want to maintain the groups permissions, right? You, it's any SSO, it comes with the defined groups. That defined groups you should grant a permission. This is how you can manage it. So let's try one more thing. So we seen about the sync and we have seen about the changes. Let's say like a delete option. So can we delete this part? Yes. So once we delete the part, as there is auto sync is enabled, immediately it's create the new part. Okay, in case if you are facing any issues, so like this you can do it. So let it complete. Okay, so you can even view the status and use the logs, events, whatever it defines. So you can see everything in this. Okay, so this is Sonnet. As even we see project level also, you can give the access in project section. We have explained how you can define the roles part of project creation with a declarative way. Please refer that video also if you wish to know about how to manage your projects and alter the roles you can define it. So that should give you the best understanding. Hope this is useful, guys. Please keep watch us and support us, and you can request, you can share the comments how it is, and if you see any feedback, please feel free to share it. So we'll help you to improve ourselves and try to give you more videos, and which will help you to learn daily the latest tools. Okay, cheers guys, keep learning. Bye bye.